Hi guys. So I'm forced to sort of do the first half of session one as a summary because my computer crashed while we were actually playing the game, and I wanted to, I didn't want to lose stuff, but I also am not sure how much we lost, and I've got some of the video to work with, but that's about it. So in order not to lose everything, I just wanted to sum up what we did during the first part of the session before my computer crashed. So we are playing Hearts of Wulin, as you can tell from the delicious background screen that we have going on here. We're playing Hearts of Wulin. During session 0, we made up characters, and we've got that pretty well straightened out. We've got all the background stuff pretty well sorted out. We've got martial arts styles and all this other kind of stuff. And at the first part of the session, I kind of introduced and talked a little bit to the group about the setting we're doing this in, which is the province of Jiangquan, which is relatively remote. We'll talk about this. So the realm is relatively remote. There's river. It's sort of river valleys, also steep wooded hills. Not a lot of flat land until toward the southeastern end of the province. The main town of the province is Firstwell. It's remote. It's in the west of the province, back up against the mountains, pretty far from the borders. In it is Castle Kung, where Lord Aoshi lives. Kung Aoshi. His family claimed the province long ago. Lost control of it for several generations, but about 6 generations back, during the night of what's known as the Night of Bitter Scales, the previous clan who held the provinces, their head was killed in the Serpent War invasion. And Kung Ayoshi's ancestor took the bull by the horns and took the province by the horns and took control back. That ancestor, the story goes, prayed for a miracle, which led to a well and a spring arising up on this hill where the Lord of the Serpents, the Serpent War invasion, was bound and was escaping. And the spring sprung up and rebound that spirit into the other world, wherever it was bound. They built a well on that spring and built a castle around the well, and that Castle Kong is where we find ourselves at the beginning. The Serpentine River flows throughout the province, and ostensibly, although it has many tributaries, the standard wisdom is the well is the source of that river, the true source of that river. So around that castle is the town of Firstwell. There's also the town of Daoyen and the town of Min. The Night of Bitter Scales now has become an annual observance of the province's history. It's a night of ill omen to some, sort of a Passover kind of night. But in general, because it's also the anniversary of the Kung family taking over the province again, it's celebrated, at least at the highest level, at the higher levels of the province, as the night that the Kung family rose back to power. So they push it as a celebration, although outside of the main towns throughout the province, peasants certainly still observe sort of propitiatory sacrifices to the Serpent Lord who led these, to sort of keep him at bay and keep the serpents from overwhelming the kingdom again. But at Castle Kung, the gates are flung wide, and there's a trail of torches leading from the castle down to the village and led villagers up into the courtyards and the public areas of the castle. Tables of food and wine and treats are set up for the delight of locals. There's performers. There's places where you can go against the so the wooden armed dummies that have been dressed up like serpent warriors, so you can practice against these things. And there's competitions like how many bells on the wooden arms can you ring in a certain given amount of time, and you win prizes. And there's also going to be a standard ritual performed by the Kung family and the local abbot at the well inside the castle. That's part of the celebration. Part of the evening. But elsewhere, again, villagers assemble in the forest, offering propitiatory offerings to keep the Lord of Serpents quiet and away from the province. So in the castle, villagers are gathered. There's a party, a bit of ceremony. Everyone who's anybody and everybody else shows up. Gives you the opportunity to rub elbows against with those above your station. There's food, there's music, there's dancing, people playing, an erhu, biwa, that thing, all that kind of stuff. But all these hats
You
are
can
so.
never have enough.
So we're seeing people, we're for this gathering, for this this knight of bitter scales that is in some parts of the province a knight of cautionary, propitiatory, offerings, and here is a celebration of the rise to power of the Kung family, and ruling the Jiangquan province, seeing the celebration, and this they blew their entire extras budget on these couple of scenes because you've got villagers here and they're laughing and they're having a good time. It's a little bit more reserved than you've seen. Certainly, Zeman, you would think. I think probably this is definitely more reserved than you've seen for. It's not a festival as such, but there is a certain amount of like dutiful celebration, I guess is maybe the best way to put it. It's not quite the interaction that you would expect from someplace with it's mandatory corporate fun, so that's exactly how engaged we are in it. It's better than that certainly, but it's not quite the wild frivolity and loudness and so forth of say like a spring festival kind of a deal. So I'm going to get back in here and take a look at some bits and pieces. I'm just looking at the entanglements here and making sure I have a good. All creatures will make merry upon pain of death. All right. So fiery perfection bow. It's kind of working through some of this. I'm trying to get a sense of give you guys a sense of what the celebration is like. You're helping out with your father. You're bringing stuff out. How well do you know his cook staff? Are you on first name basis with all of them because you basically grew up around them, or?
No, because this isn't like, at
You didn't grow up in the castle. Your father was pulled into the castle relatively recently. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So
yeah, right.
This is like the castle staff. Although I can already tell that he is definitely training them at least to quickly respond to the sorts of things he asks without his having to go into detail.
Right. How long has he been here? Just a few months, or a year, 2 years? Like,
I'm going to say it's been at least a year or two, so long enough for me to be kind of into this new routine of having interrupted my education ambitions. I've been instead focused on this quest of his that he's bequeathed me.
The most fiery pepper.
Yeah.
It's a myth. It's a myth. It doesn't exist. That's not true. It does. And it's from this region. I'm sure of it. Maybe the mountains. Have you gone to the mountains?
Yes, Dad.
But have you gone in the winter? The deadliest winters. I think that's when the hottest pepper rising up out of the snow.
The refinement of the greatest cold will bring the greatest heat.
I mean, it's a theory.
Yeah. So,
what's a little frostbite in the pursuit of your father's dream?
Right. So you're Dad. He waves with 2 fingers left.
Right.
If you bring other party members along, it'll be 5 toes and you.
So I'm able to kind of fit disturbingly easy into the cooking process, and to kind of expedite things. I'm willing to be a little showy in, not just, here, this is done. Let me put this in a bowl and have you carried over there to that tray. Either out of boredom or a little bit of resentment at having been put into this situation, because that's really not why I'm here. I will do something extraordinary to like get the food from the pots, the vats, the skillets over to the table, without people carrying it over there. So, kind of the, toss the pot over to the table, big ladle, flipping things through the air so that it lands in a perfect cone in the middle of a tray,
right,
that sort of thing.
Love it. So yeah, and you actually, I
don't know if that would be an impress.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of what you do, you don't even do. You talked a little bit about this. How your martial arts style is honestly like you sort of protesting the whole way through that you're not a warrior. There's a little bit of that you have flourish, but it could even happen.
Part of it's conscious. Part of it may be some subconscious resentment. Part of it is the Dad wants this stuff out on the trays ASAP. So flip, flop, fling.
Right. Which entirely, yeah, absolutely works for me. So that's fine too. I am, I think. Oh goodness gracious, I'm gonna have to save that and all that kind of nonsense. And I really don't want to do that right now, so we're just not gonna worry about that. Do that? No, it's not gonna work. Anyway, yeah, let's see. Let's see how impressive you are, because there's a good potential here as you're doing all this kind of stuff. There are people around, and you could end up. Well, let's see. Let's see how this looks, because there's a couple different ways this could go.
Oh yeah.
When you act to impress others or succeed at a competition, describe your performance and role. I mean, you just did. So,
Yep.
yeah. This is on, it just says roll. So what are you rolling?
Well, that's an interesting question. Let me pop back to that tab, since I'm the first one to roll something of this sort.
Indeed. So we have, and just to break it up, we've got our, I guess, somewhat elemental. We don't have air, which I think is interesting, but we have earth, fire, metal, water, and wood.
My normal combat fighting style is based on fire, creativity, speed, passion.
Which certainly seems to align with this.
That certainly does, because I'm trying to get stuff out there quickly. The negative aspects of it, are reckless and potentially alienating.
Yeah, I think that tracks.
Yeah, because that's how I cook. That's how I fight. Even though I'm a cook, not a fighter.
That's what you say.
Yeah, I know. So I would go to the page, or I would go to the thing and do bang R
2d6 plus
2d6 plus 2.
We shall look over here and see. In Bottsville, correct?
Does it need to be in Bottsville?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter, but
Okay, I was still on general, but I can move it to Bottsville.
It doesn't matter, but it's going to get cluttered if you don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
In future, we'll worry about it. For right now, just hit where you got it. We're fine.
Well, split the difference.
Oh, look at that. Serve food all fancy. There we go. Total 9. Lovely. All right, so on the Impress, on a 7-9, the GM will offer you a complication or a hard choice. Complication, I think. All right, so there's a bit of a
Use this move for public gatherings or explicit or implicit competition. I like it.
Yeah. Artistic performance, form demonstration, tournaments. If you're engaging someone specific, see Hearts and Minds. So There's a spattering of applause, like polite applause. A few people, and you realize that like what you had been doing, it looks like a bit of a show. It looks sort of accidentally as though it were planned, because you had set up some plates and dishes and done the over the shoulder thing with the ladles, and all the stuff was going crazy. You're just trying to get done with it so you can go and do something else, and it ends up being a pretty good show as you're turning around and you kind of see everybody and you're like, trying to be gracious about it and, smile, kind of waving the ladle over the head, like, a little a little victory pose kind of a deal. And you actually see towards the back of some of the folks who are sort of gathered around, like we get that sort of push focus where the people in the front were in focus and then they kind of go out of focus, and the one in the back, and we see Lee in the back there, like back on one of those wooden walkways, kind of away from the rest of the folks that are kind of out in the main part of the courtyard. And she's like sort of doing a little slow applause thing as well, and kind of smiling and winks a bit. And I mean, you've just done what you need to do and sort of accidentally impressed the girl. I like how this is worded in the entanglements too, because the way it's written for your thing with Lee is, it is assumed, and this is actually on Zeman's sheet, it's assumed that Lei will wed Fiery Perfection Bao. Like, it's like generally people see you two as a good match, as an appropriate and good, and really just, everyone approves. Air quotes, everyone. And you see her and she's there. And then you feel this grip on your arm. It's Dad. It's your father. And he isn't paying any attention to this performance at all. He's not upset about the performance. He didn't notice the performance. He's completely on about something else entirely. And he kind of clutches just at your biceps, just above the elbow, through your shirt. And we see that little pinch of the cloth, and says, "Bao, he's here."
Who?
Son, the one I told you about, the one you need to help. He's here. He's going to be, and he kind of indicates just with, he looks like he's gesturing with like a ladle. He takes the ladle from you and he gestures across the dishes and stuff. But in that broad gesture, he indicates he directs your gaze. And you see, and you can't imagine for the life of you how your father even knew, because it's a nondescript individual, traveling robes, hats completely obscuring their, but doesn't actually look like you're honestly, were it not for it being the Knight of Bitter Scales, you can't imagine they would have gotten into the castle, whoever this person is. But you can see them kind of lurking. Aragorn, it's a courtyard, except it's Aragorn in the prancing pony in the corner, I need you to reach out to them subtly. Let them know that you're my son. Let them know that you're here to help. Do it as soon as you can. Do it now if you can. And while your father is saying this, you see Lee, she turns and she walks back, through between two buildings that's going to lead into another section of the castle. But the way she walks, and I wish we had a camera here, the way she walks, she turns, but she also kind of inclines her head like she's letting her head sort of lead her as she turns. But it's this very subtle, like, come on, kind of thing as she's turning and walking out of the courtyard.
Is this the whole superhero thing when it's like, the girl saying, "Hey, I'll meet you over back, back
150%. She is absolutely leaving, and as subtly as possible saying, "You, here, this way, now." While at the same time, your father is clutching your arm and saying, "You have to go and let him know that you're my son and that you're here to help." Whatever he needs.
Okay, so, faced with this kind of conflict,
Interesting.
how does that play out in the mechanics?
When you come face to face with an emotional turmoil and pressure from an entanglement or personal issue, I direct you towards the move Inner Conflict.
Aha. Although,
Have you got a move for that?
Well, I do have my traveling teacher, which could be that all of a sudden both impulses are interrupted by someone coming up to me and saying, "That was awesome! Can you show me how to do that?" Or,
Yes, that's absolutely true.
The traveling teacher thing.
So the inner conflict, the way it's written, is when you come face to face with an emotional turmoil or pressure from an entanglement or personal issue, mark XP, and roll anything except for your style element, and then there's a whole thing. Your move over here under traveling teacher is that once per session, if you're in a reasonably accessible area, certainly true, you can declare that someone shows up to interrupt events, and you can use this before rolling inner conflict. Now, and this is what makes this move particularly tasty. If you do this, you get to mark XP as if you rolled inner conflict, because the deal with inner conflict, it doesn't matter what you roll. Rolling inner conflict gives you XP.
Right.
You get the benefits of the XP without ever actually having to engage in this thing because of the interruption.
So
you can absolutely have somebody coming up and the deep bow
or the group of people who are like the fans of what I've just done who are just applauding, kind of sweeping me back away from this.
I mean, I do like the idea of I think it's going to be somebody more than just like a student type of person that because your father is right there and he is the castle chef. He's the head chef of the castle. He has a certain amount of authority, certainly for somebody who might just be coming in, especially when you're talking about cooking. So it would have to be somebody that's got enough oomph for him not to be able.
Who's the best known gourmet in the province?
Somebody, yes.
But do mind that on a lawless night like this, nameless crowd of people just get mobbing somebody to be like, "You're awesome."
Yeah, that could absolutely
overrules everything.
That could absolutely be true too.
Or it could be someone challenging you.
Yes.
Less likely, that is absolutely valid as an option here. I see it less likely than either. My vision really is, the crowd of people comes in and sweeps
100%
bow away from Zhang, with their, that was awesome, that was great, can you show us how to do that? That was really cool. The alternative,
but also sweeps you away from Lee. So
also sweeps away from Lee and from
Zhang and from San.
For at least for the moment,
as you're sort of called upon to do another little impromptu demonstration of whatever
ladle magic.
Do the sour plums next, that kind of thing.
You didn't know this was a hibachi dinner.
I don't have any particular preference one way or the other.
I will take that particular option. I suspect that by the time I can make myself free, Lee has disappeared, which probably means I will head over towards Sun if he hasn't disappeared.
Right. But in any case, you've been like substantially interrupted, and I like that. I like it because of the sting there is that you lose the opportunities, right? But you still get the XP, which is worth noting. In case we're too far into our mask headspace, just note that the advance, you can get XP, I think a little bit, it certainly feels like a little bit easier than in mask, but you need 8 for the advance. So becomes a little bit clearer.
So I had a question on that because certainly the advancements here on the spreadsheet has separate checkboxes underneath them.
I think it's you can take this 2 or 3 times.
Yep. If you look in the book, they'll say, yeah, you can take each of these multiple times.
Oh, I see. So that's not actually the XP count. That's just
XP is under your stats.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it there. Yep.
I will go ahead and
note that.
I had to hunt it down for like 5 minutes.
Anonymous Camel
talking
is
about
on
XP.
that cell, but I will mark it myself.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for finding it, Mike.
Again, it was not in an obvious spot. I had to hunt around for it, and I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. So the XP is tracked up there, and then the checkboxes below are just noting that you took that.
Or when I actually take an advance, where I can take advances.
And you also have. It's also worth noting that you can have, in addition to those advances, you can also add one to an element, and you can do that for each one of the elements once. So you can take 3 different playbook moves, 2 playbook moves from another playbook, make up custom moves, and or add to elements. So quite a deep.
It's not as kind of restricted as the mask's advances are, but there are limitations on what you can do with it. That's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Go read the section of the book on custom moves. It's great.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Some of the stuff you can do in there is pretty.
Well, I've got several more XP before that happens. So
indeed. But we will. So we're going to see you being swept away. It's like, do the sour plums. I want to see you powder them. That kind of stuff. And we're going to look at. We're gonna get some other people in focus. That's all right. All right.
Nope. That's
okay. Would anybody? And I'm going to get back to Peng here. So Peng, and to a certain extent, Zemin, but Zemin seems determined to get you through the crowds of hoi polloi, unless they happen to be carrying, open bottles of plum wine, and into like the more rarefied circles of the castle where this is for everyone. Let's get to where the guests of honor, that kind of. Are you trying to get away from Zemin and just sort of be as inconspicuous as possible? Does this come
away and go find a quiet place to sit out the rest of the party?
I would love to, but courtesy dictates that I greet Lord Aoshi.
Okay. I get the sense that Peng is certainly not. How should I put it? Peasant stock? Like,
no.
You're. Are you from the province? Or are you from more?
Yeah.
Snow River
I'm
sect.
from this area. My family were merchants. But I'm the youngest child, so I got sent away.
I got you.
To Yeah.
Snow River sect sounds to me like you've got to. I think we're going to pick a village. Ooh, maybe
Snow River sect doesn't necessarily have to be in this.
Sure, but I like the idea. I'm not at all turned off by the idea of being at literally a one of the rivers that comes down out of the hilly sort of mountainous areas. So it's a little bit more off to the side, or it's near one of the other villages. Like you might be perhaps in the household of Minlan the Ancient or something like that. Where you're at you might serve the household of one of the other lords of the province. Does that hold any kind of appeal at all, or does that not really jive with what you're thinking of for the character?
I was not thinking.
Not necessarily as a soldier or anything like that. No, I'm not saying the sect's necessarily connected to that at all. And if you want the sect to be sort of what you're worrying about, then then maybe that we should talk about that. And I can just drop it for now. That's not a big deal. I'm just thinking about like, what is your day-to-day life like? Like, what are you doing?
No, my loyalty is to the sect.
Okay. All right. So we'll leave that. I might still end up having you being somewhat aligned to, because I haven't done, I haven't necessarily said one way or the other about some of the, I don't dislike the idea of like maybe one of the other lords actually being sort of a senior member of that. So he's both a lord and also a member of this, perhaps a sect that's fallen out of favor, because he's not the current, in the current circle of the lord, that kind of thing. We'll get into that a little bit more. But yeah, part of that being the idea that you need to go and pay your proper observances to Lord Aoshi is kind of where I was going with that. I like that idea. Okay. Zemin, Peng wants to do a boring thing.
No. There are no boring things.
Okay. Peng wants to go and talk to the Lord of the Castle. He apparently thinks that he needs to be... I just have to stop here and make sure that I'm getting pronouns correctly. James, am I getting pronouns correct on Peng when I say he?
Yeah.
I don't see that on here anywhere. Did we?
It's on
Up
there.
in the name at the top.
It's at the
Oh,
name.
that's right. I didn't go up.
But also, it doesn't matter that much.
Well, I know, but
No, for
trust,
mine. I'm just saying.
Gotcha. I got you. I just, trust me, I need the practice. Anyway. All right. So, there are no boring things. Peng apparently feels obligated to go and speak with Lord Aoshi, which, are you enthusiastically helping out with that?
Yes.
Peng, how much does the fact
with
that you
caveats.
So you want... I was like, Peng wants to do this responsible thing. How disturbing or unnerving is it, Peng, that you want to do this, like, perfectly logical, orderly, responsible thing, and Zemin is all in to facilitate this happening? That seems almost like a vote against.
Yes, I figure he's hoping that Gunlan will be there, but...
I'm wondering how much... Now, I know that you've said I want nothing more. I would prefer never to have to speak to anybody on this entire evening. But is there some secret heart of you that does secretly want to run into him?
No, because I would want to hit him, and that's
hard to explain away in the middle of an event like this.
One does not use their fighting skills in anger.
Let's see. I will just as a little thing, if you want to check it out. There's a series called Legend of the Condor Warriors you can watch it on YouTube, although there are two different playlists, and inexplicably one of the playlists that I actually really like switches over to French subtitles and dubbing for 3 of the episodes, like 6, 7, and 8, and then switches back. Don't know why. And you have to kind of switch over to the other playlist to get those and then switch back. But in one of the groups of PCs in that particular story are the 7 freaks, who are these sort of outcasts that have been gathered together as brothers and sisters, that they all do kung fu and they're all very honorable and blah, blah, blah. But one of them fights with fans and has some pretty neat scenes. So if you feel like having a 60 episode series to binge on YouTube and possibly hunt down missing gaps and things like that, there is somebody in there that does the fan fighting. It's pretty cool. Anyhow, random thing. All right.
Kyoshi Warriors.
There you go. Also that. There's also the Kyoshi Warriors, obviously, which is thank you for. I feel kind of like an idiot at that. Okay. So that's interesting. Right now, there's some sort of ritual thing, Zemin, that's supposed to happen later. And until this ritual thing happens, the court is allegedly not accessible to everybody the first time that everyone's supposed to see them. But you're practically a member of the court.
They'll let me in.
How you've been here many times, so I see you kind of like looking over the layout of the castle, the way things are currently like set up, the ins and outs of the place, what the current, what do I want to say, landscape is of the castle, and figuring out how you can wend your way through this with Peng in tow and get him where he needs to be to do this, because it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Also, wind through. No. Direct path.
Direct path. I'm going to ask you to roll study. When you study something in order to change the game state being, the family is inaccessible, but not for me. No. Not for us.
All right.
What's the appropriate stat for that for you? What do you think? What are you rolling?
I'm rolling fire.
Creativity. I'm just because a lot of this sort of dictates to a certain extent how it looks. Creativity, speed, passion, reckless. Everybody's rolling fire. It's a good look.
Yeah.
All right.
Reckless.
Yeah, reckless.
Will definitely be alienating to me.
7 with a 7. Okay. On a hit, you gain the basic information. What does it say? Basic information. This is you get the route. Spend 1 for 1. You can ask a question about the situation or place. Ask a question about a person. I'm saying you tell me this stuff as much as anything else. Ask a question about a person. Learn a person's scale. Reveal a detail. Declare something which changes or adds to the established. So how do you? This is the thing. I'm going to ask you to hit that bottom bullet point in study, which is.
I was planning on it.
So tell me how you achieve this.
Well, as we know, doors are no, stop for Zeman. Zeman is just like, as soon as like Zeman will see like, somebody, like barring a door, like I figure there are still like some guards or something along those lines.
Right.
It's just like, Zeman with all the confidence of somebody who knows better than the people who work there, just goes right through.
Spiritually speaking, you're always carrying a clipboard, but a cool clipboard,
yes.
A suave clipboard.
And it's like, no, anybody dressed like this, they wouldn't stop. They're obviously me and whoever this other person who are coming with me. We deserve to be going in this direction.
Let's see. Okay.
Also, if you want that detail, because this is what I had in mind. I was like, the reason why I am very like, no, we are going straightforward. We have time to make up. Like, Zeman worked out with Gunland earlier what time they were both going to go talk to, the local lord at the same time. It's just like
his father for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like no. We know Penguin. He will not want to speak with you, but he cannot not go into that room. So be there.
Gotcha. I fled from Kung Gunland because of heartache, and now the reaction is I'd like very much to punch him.
If you look at the
story
box.
The story box?
Scroll up.
I didn't see that. It's beautiful. Thank you. Sorry,
Makes a bit more sense.
It made sense. I was just looking for the detail that you had conveniently and considerately already provided. So go you.
To be fair, I didn't provide it until like an hour before the game.
Okay.
So.
I feel less bad then. That's awesome. Zeman, is it? Are you saying that Gun would really like to speak with him, like try to work this?
Yes.
I see.
Again, it was it wasn't me who wanted Penguin back. Penguin can do whatever Penguin wants. Gunland asked me to get Penguin back because I can do anything, and obviously I have.
And obviously you have. Check me if I'm wrong, but aren't you involved with Gung right now? Also? This is a complicated relationship.
I mean, if you want details and facts, all relationships involving Zeman are going to be complicated.
This is a situation that has layers. That's what I'm saying. Lots and lots of layers. Like an onion?
Lover of.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has layers. Like an onion? More like sheets on a bed. Anyway, all right. So
his layers have layers.
You're winding through. His secrets have secrets.
Have I gotten underneath the bottom sheet, or am I like between the sheet and the blanket? And no.
With Zeman, everyone is between the sheets. Man, the double and or triple and or simply single entendres are they just roll off with him. It's great. Okay, so I wanted to say wind again, but you're not winding. You're driving through this, and you've come to sort of. I'm kind of thinking of it's an inner, I want to say, audience chamber kind of thing, but it's a preparatory thing. So within this room, as you enter in, and I will direct you somewhat to the NPCs thing here to kind of set the stage for who's. It's a big enough room that people can be here and be quite spread out. But within the room, somewhere within the confines of this room, you have Kung Ayoshi, who is currently quietly speaking with the abbot of the local. Would Confucians actually have a temple? I think it would be a Buddhist. Sure. In any case, but the local abbot,
Master
Master
Ranfutan.
Ranfutan, because he's the one that's sort of been tasked with directing the ritual that happens a bit later, and they're talking nearby in the way that they could be comfortably assumed to be listening and attentively paying attention. You've got the second son, Hugong, and he's near there without really paying it. He's not too close to be imposing. He could be said to be paying attention and studying. He could also be far. And he's also far enough away to completely ignore the entire thing. So he's there. You've got with assistance from or assisting the abbot. You have Sister Jeanne, who's one of the other members of the temple. You have Don Louis, who's the textile merchant, who kind of represents the family with regards to the whole textile deal that's going on with them. Dian Tao is there and talking with Gunlan. They're much further away. They're sort of a bit across the room. They want no part of this other conversation, and they're sort of quietly sort of amusing each other with quiet asides and that sort of thing. There are other various attendants, most of them being lay people of the temple and that sort of thing, who are arranging because the first time that the general members who are here in the castle are supposed to see the family is when they come out for the ritual, so they're preparing for that so that the family can then join the rest of the activities for the evening, that kind of thing. So, Peng, of course, Gunlan sees you before anybody else notices your arrival.
Almost like he was expecting me.
Almost like he was expecting you. Almost like he had been signaled as you entered. Apparently, the hallway that you came through was dusty because as soon as you came in here, Zeman coughed loudly. He was still it's very it's the incense. Incense. It's just.
I pat him on the back to help him out.
Face a rictus of
Politeness.
concern. Politeness and concern.
I am concerned about him.
And Gunlan just sort of holds a hand out to the side with his finger up, just to basically telling Dan Tao hold that thought, and is making his way across the room toward you. Zeman, Peng, it's so good to see you. I assume you came to pay respects to Father, and
of course.
So you're GM gonna have his inner conflict roll one way or the other. Dave dodged it. So what we have here is Kunglan right here in the face. It's good to see you again, Peng. I'm so glad you were able to come to the evening's festivities. And unless you have something that you want to say first, when you come face to face with an emotional turmoil from an entanglement or personal issue, and this is the first time you've seen him since the event, or maybe the second? Did he find you one time since then? We don't need to get into the details, but
I'd probably say first, but
okay. So first time since you've seen him since the thing, the moment. It feels like you just would. I wouldn't just open with inner conflict. When you come face to face with an emotional turmoil and pressure from an entanglement or personal issue, mark XP immediately and roll anything except for your style element.
Okay.
I like how on a miss you can actually get 2 XP for this move. You can go that far afield. What is the appropriate what element do you think this goes to?
I'm thinking.
I direct you towards the descriptions of the elements in red because that's definitely
Patience, presence.
Oh, I'm looking at the negatives, but by all means, you go ahead and look at the positives if you want to.
Disdain, angry,
uncertain, depressed.
Ooh.
Reckless, alienating.
They're also tasty.
Right. I'll go with Earth.
All right.
I'm focusing greatly on getting to Aoshi.
Oh, so if this comes off, you're basically just ignoring him and powering right past him to.
Yes.
I think we do need to attach you to a lord just so you can sort of or the sect. We'll talk about that here in just a second. I don't want to distract from this, but I want to lay that out here real quick and just say one way or the other how that shakes out. Because the way I'm seeing it is you've got a lord who's running one of the other villages. He's also ostensibly the head of the sect that your family, or a senior member of the sect that your family sent you to. sent you with, and has sort of combined things as a promising member of the sect, as well as, and also, he's got certain duties that have to be seen to, or that she does, whichever, that need to be seen to, has sent you sort of in their stead, both as, to convey regrets that he wasn't able to be here, they weren't able to be here in person. Kind of a deal. Does that track? Does that seem okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll deal with that here in just a second. There's no entanglements with that. It's actually a fairly straightforward relationship, which is why they haven't shown up yet, but that's just fine. So, let's roll, see what we got here. Ooh, a 5. Ooh. Okay.
Take that 2 XP.
So take
By
that
the way,
2.
where's the XP markers?
I have selected that place. It's like right there where the stats are.
It's just to the right of wounded, which is kind of appropriate right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. So drop that, bring that up to 2. Lovely, well done with that. And inner conflict on a miss, mark XP, and the GM makes things much worse. I'm not going to speak for what you do.
If you need any help with that, I have wanted to shush an abbot.
I like how you're just sitting around with these. Zeman's bucket list is fucked up. I'm just going to say. I have always wanted to shush an abbot. Okay. So obviously we're talking about a setting of reserve and, not speaking out. Subtle asides and speaking obliquely of things. So you do exactly what you intended to do. Exactly the way you intended to do it. And not for nothing, this is also how you would deal with disagreements with Gunlin in the past, and it was the thing that he liked the least. It was the argument tactic that bugged him no end. I'm not saying that's why you decided to do that again. But
you're not saying that that's not.
I'm not saying that's not the reason. I don't know why you did what you did because it's your character. I can definitely tell you that it irritates the hell out of Gunling. So you kind of do the thing where you're like, we're talking about Earth here. So you're focused. You're focusing on your presence, and negatively speaking, you're acting uncaring, disdainful. Basically draw a straight line on the floor to Aoshi and walk to it, even though that means kind of doing that shoulder knock, the high school hallway, knock him to the side with your shoulder without actually leaning into it. You just walk straight through, and that kind of knocks him to the side. And Zeman, you see Gunlin look both first shocked and then hurt and then angry. And and Peng Lang is still just walking across the room. And Gunlin whirls around and shouts, "Damn it, Peng! It was one night. They're not even here anymore." And it just rings off of the wood of the room and off of and it just everything stopped. I mean, the abbot did get shushed, Zeman. I don't know if that really counts, but I'll make sure I leave that opening still for you. But everything stopped. And Gunlin doesn't even really seem to track that he's done this. Now, to break down his brothers, I think I've kind of said what the brothers are like before. But if you were to take Aoshi's character, it's reductive, but a lot of people tend to say that his sons are either half of him. Because he's a tactician and he's smart and he's tactical and he ponders things and he's thoughtful, and that is definitely Hui Gong. But he's also charismatic and a strong leader. His men will crawl across broken glass for him, and that's Gunlin all the way. But they weren't necessarily blessed with the other half of these things. So Hui Gong's not that inspiring to the general populace, whereas Gunlin is beloved, but people in the know don't exactly want him like running logistics. Okay, if that gives you kind of a breakdown.
Yeah.
So he actually pays no attention to this whatsoever. Peng, do you stop or do you keep moving? Do you stop? Do you keep walking? Because this is a pretty shocking outburst.
I probably falter.
Okay. Seeing that, Gunlin takes a couple more steps forward and is definitely drawing breath to start in on a whole other line of something. And Aoshi just simply barks out the word no. And Gunlin suddenly seems to realize where he's at. And then he starts to look like he's about to say something again, except this time to his father. And his father barks out again, leave us. And Peng, you're not going to get to make your introductions just yet.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But the room...
Is this the give us the room?
Yeah, it's the give us the room thing. Actually, he doesn't say give us the room. He lists off names. And the names are Gunlin, Huigong, and the abbot are basically the only people that he lists off those three names. Everybody else, after about a 1 second beat, is able to deduce that those are the people that are supposed to leave. Those are the people supposed to stay, and we need to make ourselves scarce instantaneously. And the room just empties like water flowing through a sieve. Leaving Huigong stands up at least and kind of goes to kind of field rest. Everybody else just vacant, and we're left ushered out of there. And Zemin, where do you take Peng?
There's only one place for, after these sort of events, it's like
The open bar.
Yep, hand her at the shoulder. And it's just like, let's go to the bar. You handled that really well. I thought you were gonna punch him.
Honestly, the scene, like the doors open and people start emptying, and then next scene is like a smash cut to being at the open bar and Zemin putting the drink in your hand, and you're still kind of doing a 1,000-yard stare at the wall, and then looking down at the drink like, how did you get here? Kind of thing.
But wait, this is not my beautiful house.
This is that, yeah, exactly. All right, I got to keep clipping along here, but that's where we're gonna pause that. We're not gonna get as far as I wanted to get, but I'm gonna chalk some of that up to technical difficulties. So I got to get to everybody here. Shoe, skydiver shoe. Moment while I focus here. Actually, this is actually quite nice because I'm going to be able to do kind of both of you together. Sue, you study with your brother. You're a member of the court. How do you know about past lives? How do you know enough about a past life to know? Do you even know how you know?
I'm gonna actually suggest that we may add a link into Sister Jian,
Okay.
the nun. And that
Doesn't necessarily have to be an entanglement, but she can certainly be a friend or an acquaintance or a confidant.
a mentor.
She's not quite. If she's a mentor, she's kind of like she's the mom in the friend group kind of thing because she's not that old.
Right. But I'm that young.
What's that? Say it again.
But I am that young.
Oh, I see. I got you.
So,
So when you see certain people, it's a bit of a shock to your system, and she's been able to tell you that what that may be is recognition of a past life where you met these people, and you, possibly there's some guidance there, that kind of thing, where you've come to the realization that what seems to have happened, in this past life. You know where you are, active in this particular court. You don't see Peng that often, certainly, but you do see him, and you see him here, and it's again that sort of shocking recognition. That wordless, shocking recognition of you see him, but you also have this like greater, deeper, behind the scenes kind of like moment as you're seeing this. But he's not looking at you. He's over at the bar. That ne'er-do-well Zemin, who's literally just ruining the judgment of your brother these days, is there and gesticulating, babbling as he often does. You can't hear any of that. It's across the crowd and that kind of thing. But you see Peng, and you get that moment of that frisson of like, this is the shock. It's like cold water on the spine kind of thing of seeing him.
Right, and that sense of knowing more.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the back of your, like you're trying to dig up a memory. You're like,
right.
Where do I know that person from, or why is this so?
It's right on the tip of my brain.
Yeah, why is this so so real?
Right. So this is kind of like, I think we're in the area, like we're in kind of the food area. I'm just going to call it the food court, whatever. It's a food court. It's the courtyard. It's the food courtyard. Because the drinks and it's quite open. There's people stand with their food and their drink, and they're visiting and doing all that. It's a convivial without being incredibly loud. And what loudness there is tends to be focused on this on Bao and the crowd that wants to see him prepare more food in his flashy way.
Do something unnatural with the salted plums.
Yeah. So you have that moment, and you've experienced this before, and you thought you were ready for it, but it intensifies in this instance, and it takes you a little bit of time to understand exactly why. And it's not Pang. It's coming from somewhere else within the courtyard, and it's at where the front sort of larger courtyard opens into this one. You see a entourage is a bit of a big word for this, but there is a small group of people coming in. They're definitely nobles. They're not peasants. They're not local either, because their clothing, both their clothing styles and sort of some of the way they're attired and stuff, definitely marks them as being from a different clan, from a nearby province. They're not completely unfamiliar, but they're definitely visitors, right? And what you have is escorts. I'm going to say escorts rather than bodyguards, but they're bodyguards. They're just very nice bodyguards. They're, more about assisting than they are about, roughing people up and knocking them to the side. You got a couple of escorts, and then you have an older woman, probably in her late 40s to early 50s, although she would slap you for implying that. And definitely her daughter, her young, beautiful daughter, and it's Sue Win. And again, that shock. Now, I don't know if you. I gotta look at your entanglement here. Actually, how did you put? I pine for Sue Win, but it destroyed them. So this is two shocks. This is a double shock, because this is the first time you've seen the two of them, this past life shock, from two people at the same time. From these two at the same time, you never really, you kind of connected who Pang would have had to have been, but Sue's never been there at the same time. So you've got that double whammy. And then on top of that, it's also just Sue, who you pine for, who is inexplicably and at the worst possible time in the middle of this thing here, which is not helpful.
Would I have not expected her to be here?
She's not from this province. She's her
okay,
her mother.
This is them just okay.
Yeah, her mother is from a nearby province.
No, I got that. I just didn't know they were just arriving.
Yeah, they have arrived in time for the Night of Silent Scales to, and sort of pay their respects, take part in the festival, respectfully at a distance, even though they're, from another thing. Okay. So that's Shu. Sun, you're also in this. We mentioned you kind of lurking Aragorn-like in the corner, and you're seeing again, faces that you recognize, and thus far, nobody who's recognized you except for possibly Zhang. And you can't imagine how that old bastard managed to spot you. But he clearly did. You saw him. He probably thought he was being subtle, pointing you out from across the place. But nothing came of that. There's been a bunch of ruckus and hullabaloo and that kind of thing. But thus far, no one's really spotted you. You've spotted Zeman, but he hasn't seen you because he's Zeman. He's talking to some, attendant, and you catch the movement obviously of this other entourage kind of coming in with the guard and stuff, and spot your wife Sue Wen with her mother. So she's not here surreptitiously. She's here clearly as a representative of her clan, her province, and in a pretty official fashion somehow, which is weird because she's not old enough to really be doing that. Her mother would definitely be, one of the more senior members of the clan. And for her daughter to be here and be sort of so front and center, it's an odd position for things to be in, especially given the weird sort of middle state that her whole status has been left at because of the way that you parted at your wedding. So all of this is happening kind of in place. And if this were, the type of show that this sort of thing is based on, there'd be a lot of like camera close-ups on people's eyes as they're taking all of this various stuff in.
A lot of zooms on faces.
A lot of zooms on faces, and everyone sort of spotting names and spotting faces, spotting people they know being somewhat shocked. Not necessarily shocked that they're there, because like in Sun's case at least, you knew that she said she was going to be here, but it still comes upon you suddenly when she appeared. Sun was very noble. And I'm asking this for my own sort of education on this.
I wouldn't say noble so much as influential.
Well, I don't mean noble in terms of your rank. You were very noble in the way that you handled the truth that your bride shared with you.
Okay.
Right. And you did what you deem the right thing, and I would agree with you. How did he actually feel about that up until that point? Like, is he harboring feelings that he's just accepted are going to be unrequited, or is it something else, or has it been simply put away as like, well, that wasn't going to happen, and whatever excitement I might have felt at the time has faded because it's just not a thing?
I don't think that he was directly attracted to her so much as that he was doing the thing that his whole life was set up to point at doing. So the trajectory of his life was, you're going to get married, you're going to have kids, we have a clan, you're going to be the continuation of that clan, you're going to bring honor to the clan by continuing to do all the things that your ancestors had done, and in one night, the trajectory of his life basically got redirected.
Yes.
So yes. I don't think that he is like angry at like whoever she is, making time with, or jealous of them or anything like that. Right. I think he's feeling is probably a great deal of protectiveness and worry. Not necessarily resentment, but just confusion.
It's not romantic. She's still definitely your responsibility.
Exactly.
Gotcha. All right, that's fair. All right, thank you. That clears things up really nicely. Okay, so there's a lot going on right here, and we have a limited amount of time. Shu, what, if anything, do you do? You are a representative of the castle. They are visiting from another province. It is it fits loosely within your role to greet them. They may have already been greeted, but it certainly wouldn't be amiss to say, let me assist you. What can we possibly do? The festival, the ritual presentation of the well will happen soon. Blah, 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 blah. Or to not. Since you were the next person in order, I'm leaving your decision to decide whether or not then that Sue notices you first or Sun.
I'd probably, kind of take in the scene around her. Is she being properly, greeted to her honor? And, as a woman of the court, it would be appropriate for me to greet her mother and her.
I think that there's nobody with them, like right now, like an attendant of the castle, like of your rank or higher, that is with them. It was certainly appropriate for that. Now, it's possible that they met somebody at the front courtyard that already saw to them, but it's also possible that nobody has, and they're simply moving further in, hoping that eventually somebody important is going to notice them. Somebody appropriate is going to notice. I don't know that you can leave that a chance, because if
I was thinking, especially since I know that the family is unavailable, so
correct.
It would have to be somebody other than the family that would be greeting them.
Okay.
So
you're saying that you're going to go up and greet the mother and sort of make your niceties.
Well, yeah, she would take precedent over the daughter.
All right. I'm going to ask you to. What do you say? Like, what does this look like? Do you sort of like really smoothly slide in front of them and make sort of a curtsy bow type of inclination of the head kind of a thing, and then kind of go into the spiel of welcome to the castle of the castle Kong, that sort of thing. The festival. Can we get you refreshments? Can we get you food? Would you like a place to rest from your journey? Blah blah blah. Is that what that looks like? What's your spin on what you do here?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely approach the initial phrasing would be trying to determine if they've already been greeted, and determine if it's a welcoming speech I should be giving or just an inquiry into if they need anything, how may I help them?
Her mother. And I got to get down here. I haven't actually gotten down here to this. I did find I did switch the garrison commander I was talking about. I did find a good picture for the garrison commander, whose name is now Ushi, who's in there on the NPCs. Lady Suning. Lady Suning coolly informs you that they have not yet been greeted and did not have an idea necessarily of when the ritual was going to. And if it was possible to speak with Lord Aoshi, or if it would not be, if patience would be required, if they could simply be directed on where would be the most appropriate, blah, 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 blah. But basically saying, no, we haven't been greeted. No one has seen to our needs. I'd like to speak to Lord Aoshi, but I understand that he may not be available, so really anything that you can do, I would appreciate, since nothing up to this point has been done.
Right.
So she's peeved, but she's certainly not going to show it, but that's the message.
Certainly. So I will, there are spaces set aside for traveling visitors to be able to refresh themselves. I will, ask if that's their first priority. I'm assuming since they just arrived, it would be.
Yeah. I think it's the kind of thing where you just kind of take charge and sort of like
yes,
confidently say, well, let me just step in here and say this is what's going to happen. Okay. I'm going to have you.
Yeah, this is something I know how to do.
Right. I'm going to say I would like you to impress them, to see how well this impresses them. When you act to impress others, and it's not a performance as such, but you have a chance here to make an impression. And I think it's probably the best way of sort of reflecting that thing. You're acting to impress others. It's not a performance as such, but I like it for this. And really, it boils down to what do you roll for that particular maneuver? And this is focused entirely on the mother. Suning. Lady Suning. I can see arguments for awareness, for...
I was going to say water sounds...
Yeah, I'm looking
but there's also not to be the guy who's saying roll the 0, but there's also the focus and presence of Earth.
Yes, but I was looking at sort of the opposites. And
sure.
So I'm wanting to kind of project that awareness as
and flexibility.
To
well, yeah, you're doing awareness and flexibility, and certainly that could you could, if it doesn't come off right, she can see that you're sort of winging it and not too sure of yourself.
Right, because I'm definitely not going to be uncaring. Gotcha.
All right, I like it. Let's go with the water then. I like it.
Okay, so what do I need to do here for this?
Either under general or under Botsville, you type exclamation point like a bang, R, and like for roll 2d6 plus 1, space 2d6 plus 1.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Well, okay then. Very nice. All right, so for the impress...
Does my brother see me being impressive?
On a hit, you impress and convince. Pick 2 options. You can create a bond, clear an element, or gain favor. And you can pick 2 options.
Well, I definitely want to gain favor with the mother. Because that would be important. And since I don't have any elements marked... I guess it's a bond. So. And
you can put that underneath your bonds in your character. And I think.
I don't have one with Su Wen. I have it with Peng Lang, and Two-Handed Z. So we could add Su Wen, Anonymous Raccoon.
Anonymous Raccoon. All right. So Su Wen as a bond. Now the reaction from Su Wen is not what you were expecting at all, because from behind her mother, she gives you a very grateful look and then leaves, like sort of slides out away from, because her mother is entirely, you are 100% like wrapped up, like you've got her and you are ushering her along, and she's just assuming everybody else is moving along in her wake, and you are keeping that and you're left a bit kind of, but you're so smooth with this right now. It's all about flexibility, right? It's like, okay, I don't know what she's doing, and I'm sure that she'll explain it later, but for right now, it's keep mom busy until she gets back, and you're going to do that. And and the gratitude is where that bond is coming from. But she apparently had someplace she needed to be, and heads there. Toot sweet. So amongst the crowd, moving through the crowd, she takes like 2 steps over and kind of pulls up, flips up a fan to obscure her features and moves through the crowd. And she's looking at all the food and all the wares and all of the, I say wares, all the food and the display and the people and nodding and, doing all this and just moving about, and passes right past the front of you, Silent Sun. She doesn't say anything. But she bows, as she has been doing for everyone. And again, flips her fan up, and as she moves along, a slip of parchment falls from falls isn't even the right word. It slips from behind the fan and sort of tumbles down the outside of her gown to the ground, tumbles down the outside of her gown like a bit of a ball rolled. It's a roll, so it rolls down the outside of her gown along the wood of the walkway where we're standing, and basically rolls up right to where, son, you can basically shift your feet and like half a step, and your robes and it's completely obscured beneath your robes until such a time that you can retrieve it. And she continues on.
All right. Well, out of the ropes, I will basically get the side of my boot under it and flip it up into my hands.
Very nice. And it's just a long strip where the message has been written, and it's been written very carefully and very tidily. It definitely wasn't a quick scrawl kind of a thing. She was prepared for this. The message says, Mother has found some way for me to marry one of the sons of Kung Ayoshi. And that's all it says.
Deceitful old bitch.
No, that's all it says. I take that back. It's not all it says. She is meeting with the abbot after the ritual.
I gotta break that shit up.
Okay, so
well, good news.
Yeah, good news. Some of that has been shook up. Son, do you think this is an appropriate, like, just as a dun 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 moment to give you an inner conflict thing, right?
Oh yeah, twist the knife. Go for it.
Okay, yeah, we'll land this, and we'll probably, since we're late, we're going to wrap up with this. But so when you come face to face with an emotional turmoil, pressure from an entanglement, this personal issue, mark XP, and roll anything except for your style element. So what's most appropriate, do you think?
Honestly, the style element kind of fits because it's uncertain, isolated, and depressed, which is totally where I am. I was looking at this, and I think caution is probably the most appropriate positive element that he needs to show here. He needs to not reveal any recognition. He needs to be the stranger. Like the Earth is the appropriate element for that.
Okay, caution. Gotcha. All right. So that's
It's not like you're obsessive about it or anything.
Yeah.
So.
I looked and I thought it was Margie's roll again, and so we still have a 9. All my exes live in the Forbidden City. That's a very lovely label for that. I love it. Okay, so on a 9 for the inner conflict. Okay. 10 plus, you manage to keep yourself together. On 7 to 9, you must either flee the scene or mark an element.
I'll flee the scene.
You'll flee the scene. Okay. So yeah.
I'm just loitering around here anyway. I can leave or find a good place to hang out and just kind of brood.
Did we see like your fist clench the scrap of parchment? Do we see that?
No, what we see is there's a cook fire nearby, and Son is dutifully feeding the note to the cook fire because nobody needs to find this.
Okay. All right. And then from there, you make your way.
Is that a cook fire that I'm actually standing by?
Sure, go for it.
Flee the scene to go get help from Fiery Perfection Bow.
Oh yeah, so the guy that your dad has said you need to help him with this actually
walks straight towards me, ignores me, throws a piece of parchment in the fire, and
then turns and walks out of the inner court. Yeah, turns and walks.
Do you want to leave it there before I walk away to set up it?
Oh, I like that.
No, I think you're heading outwards,
like, sort of to the outer courtyard. Yeah.
Creates the tension of what I need to do next.
Love it.
Okay, that sounds good.
I didn't get quite where I wanted to get, but I'm very happy with where we got. And I wanted to give a moment to everybody, and that's probably what ate up so much time. So giving everybody their little, like, a bit of like getting those inner conflicts out there.
Yeah.
Would have liked
blue screen.
I'm particularly annoyed because I checked, and the recording for the first part before the blue screen, there is a file there. It is called an MP4. It will not open. So that happens when I blue screen. It corrupts the file, and it won't. So
you may not like hearing this, but I want to suggest that until you fix this issue, maybe someone like Mike needs to be doing the recordings.
I'm 100% fine with that. I also might just do it on a different computer. I do have a laptop here that does not seem to have this problem at all, because that's the one I use with my kids, and I don't seem to have those problems. I'm I'm pretty agnostic when it comes to operating systems, and I was using a Mac very happily and reliably for a long time, and I'm very looking at the Mac Minis with the new M1 chips and thinking that doesn't look like something that's going to crash on me all the time, and isn't going to break the bank to put a skinny little box on my desk. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, so we'll leave that there with the I don't hate where this is any. With the nighttime ritual of the Night of Bitter Scales pending, that's what we'll open up, and then the rest of the evening lies open before us, full of opportunity and adventure. But I think what were you saying?
I want to talk about advancement real quick for those who did not look at the book. The book does not talk about getting XP on any miss. There's a specific list of things that does give XP. One of those is end of session. At the end of the session, if you encountered or interacted with your entanglements, you get XP. At the start of the session, you're supposed to mark one of your entanglements to kind of flag it to the GM.
We did that.
Yeah. This is why I bring this up for next time. To say like this is kind of where I want to focus this this moment of the story. If you interact with that entanglement, you get 2 XP. If you interacted with the other one, you get 1 more XP.
Right. So yeah, if you're able to interact with both of your entanglements, you're potentially getting 3 just from that. So I am Bill. Can you remind me what page that's on?
There's stuff on 50.
On 50? Oh, I went too far. That's why I can't find it. I passed it.
Yeah. So PDF page 50. Advancement fighters gain XP in one of 4 ways: take a loss in a conflict, agree to another PC suggestion with these hearts and minds, rolls in a conflict, or has significantly interacted with their entanglements.
Right. I feel like everybody should have gotten a point for significantly interacting with their entanglements. All players check this at the end of each session and consult with the GM. If the GM believes the player characters has interacted with their highlight, we didn't get the highlights. If you guys want to have sort of retroactively marked one as the highlight, who's supposed to do the highlighting? Is it the player, or does the GM do it, or who is it?
The player does it's in the paragraph above.
Right.
At the beginning of each session, each player reviews their entanglements and chooses to revise them as they see appropriate.
Right.
Really revise, and then after this process, each player highlights one of their entanglements.
Right.
This tells the table which they'd most like to see play out the session. Players may collaborate on the highlighting process. So basically, the game needs to open with this short ritual where we talk about this and come up with these.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily about the entanglements, but I will note, Son, you don't have bonds set up yet in the sheet for your 2 entanglements. They're not named. It's not a critical thing. I just figured I'd mention it. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I don't have the rules open. You get a general point if entanglements were engaged, and then you get 2 if your preferred one was.
No, it's
so you get 1 XP per entanglement that you interacted with. You get an extra XP if one of those entanglements
was the highlight.
So, for example, let's say that I have 1 preferred and 1 not, and I interact with both of those. I get 3 XP. If I interact with my non-preferred entanglement only, I get 1 XP. If I interact with my preferred entanglement only, I get 2 XP. And then I change what my preference is, or rewrite entanglements at the start of the next session.
Gotcha. Got it. Okay. So
So part of that is just what we need to do at the beginning of the session.
Beginning of the session, which we didn't do because we got going lopsided, I would say. So I will simply say this: Fiery Perfection Bow, I think, interacted with both of his entanglements.
Right. So it'll be a total of 3.
Well, it's a total of 3, regardless of whichever one was the highlighted one, because you got both. Right. Peng interacted with the Kung Gunlan 5-coin Zemin entanglement. I don't think Peng necessarily interacted with Shu, although you did impact Shu, but that wasn't really it. If you want that to be your highlighted one, by all means, I've got no problem with that. If you want it to be that one for the 2 points. 5-coin interacted.
I had nothing.
You didn't get any. I'm sorry. I had you so wrapped up in messing with Peng that I didn't get you on your entanglements, man. I apologize. I was
waiting for Zemin to show up while I'm in the middle of cooking.
Yeah, and I had him with Peng for that thing because I needed him to make the other thing happen, and I apologize, Peng. I left you hanging on that one.
I appreciate it because that was fun.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no. but I didn't get any XP for it.
We missed a tag on that one. I'm sorry. That's on me, and I will make it up to you. Which is funny because you're basically in everybody's entanglements, and you're the one who didn't get benefit from it. And that funny in the I kind of want to punch Doyce in the head.
Don't punch yourself in the head, Doyce.
Skydoughter Shu. Had the Su Wen, obviously the entanglement. I don't know that the brother and 5 coin really came into this one at this point in time, but that I would say that was at least 2 there, and
I'll add that for you, Margie.
And I think certainly the main one, the first one there for Silent Sun, is certainly got pinged, although I didn't have time to get to 5 coin Zemin. So most people.
The romantic one would have been my preference anyway, so I'll take the
absolutely, by all means.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Mechanically speaking, is there are the agendas? Is that just stuff to do or kind of guidelines on how to act?
It's guidelines for what you're sort of yes. They're generally just, it isn't exactly role play guidelines, but it's kind of this thing like the first 4 are definitely guidelines for the feel of the genre.
Yeah, and then the last one is playbook specific.
Yeah, very much.
I was just wondering if there was XP from that, but I don't think so.
I don't think so. Rolls inner conflict, agrees to. I didn't even have you roll a conflict, Zemin. What the hell is wrong with me? You had so much crap.
I didn't roll a conflict.
No, Zemin.
No, I didn't either.
No, but
I did something else. It was
you rolled. You didn't necessarily roll the conflict necessarily, but I should have probably had you hit 2, but I was kind of running. I should have had you roll that too, but I was kind of running low on time.
I believe we know from how this entire session goes. Zemin is definitely the instigator of other people having conflict.
I just want to make sure that that's ultimately recognized, and maybe that will be a little bit of some tweaks to entanglements and stuff to make sure that shows up accurately.
Maybe I'll get revenge.
Yeah, there's going to be some stuff that happens in the next session, I think, that will certainly get all that stuff going on. So yeah, maybe we'll get revenge. Okay, so. Yeah, you had your roll, but it wasn't like and I think they had some stuff. Lowell's got some notes in there about the XP, about like tweaking the rate of XP, because some people felt it came in too quick. Some people felt it, whatever, blah blah blah.
I'm sure you will beat up on me next time. It's okay.
Some of the groups some of the groups did not use the get XP when you miss thing. Because they wanted to throttle it back. Other folks did different things. I'm gonna just leave it as is, unless it seems like it's a thing.
Like I want to tell you folks what I am seeing from these rules, which is at the start of the session you basically get to rewrite your entanglements and then pick an extra one and promote that, and these entanglements will cross over with at least one other PC, if not 2 PCs, depending on who you connect with. All you got to do is just say, here's what I want to have happen in the session, and then go make that thing happen.
Yeah, it's a huge flag of saying, like, okay, guys, this is the one I've rewritten this, I've said it this way, and I'm making that my highlighted entanglement. You can't sign.
That's 3 XP right there.
Yeah.
That is guaranteed 3 XP if you just interact with both of those in some pack. And so you'll get an advance like every 3 sessions. If you do more.
Yeah, sometimes it will be difficult to get them both in. I think we demonstrated that, and obviously it's more efficient. Efficient language. If you're,
I want to talk about that too, because I think this is poison to this group, and I do not understand why. I just do not get it. But it's okay to have plot lines that intersect and impact multiple PCs.
Oh yeah,
this group is terrible with this. I'm not like saying, hey, change, be better. But like, it's okay to say, okay, we're going to drown their 2 to 3 PCs into a single plot and just have them all bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
And just lean into that.
It's probably an overabundance of caution for like not wanting to step on other people's toes. I do see a lot of that though, because conveniently, towards, and this is the hint of it, and we can definitely get much more into it. But I mean, obviously, Su Wen is a big pivot point for you and Margie, which is great. Peng can get looped into that as well. To a certain extent.
Nobody's going to be stepping on my toes if they say, hey, I'm doing a thing with your plot. I'm like, great, it's not just my plot.
Yeah.
It's the plot.
Yeah.
And you occasionally will step on toes when you dance. We're here to dance.
Well, and very specifically with this whole setup with all the NPCs in this particular setup, the way I kind of thought of it in my head was there are going to be, and there's enough NPCs that it's not going to be true of all of them, but there are going to be some NPCs that if I grab and squeeze them, several of you should wince and then sweat XP. So Sue Wynn's an example of that. If I do stuff to her, several of you are going to be affected by that, and as a result,
and more of us will be indirectly affected. So I mean,
right.
So
my hope is that we have created ourselves an interwoven tapestry where, even against our apparent reluctance to necessarily, interweave, and Bill's not wrong, we can't help it in this one. We're gonna be tripping all over each other, which is good.
Our initial map just shows that too.
Yeah. Anybody tries to run through that relationship map is going to get tangled up in some lines pretty quick and pull everybody down with them, which is kind of what I want. So that's okay.
I'm also going to say I enjoyed playing with all of you immensely. I trust all of you with these characters and this relationship. So I trust you all to do a great job, and I encourage you to lean in on stuff that would overlap my character. I want to see what you do with it. So you have my permission. Please do.
Thank you.
I'm wearing steel-toed boots. If you step up those, I'll be okay.
And this is a melodrama. I do want. I'll say I'm sometimes I don't necessarily always lean into drama that's got both people, like a couple different players, like just wound up in. This is a melodrama. The tear brimming eyes and heartfelt gasps and screaming no and lunging across the room kind of thing. That's what this is for, more than probably anything else that we've played. And we have somebody who is perfectly willing to take a perfectly balanced crystalline structure of wine-filled flutes and toss a wild cat into the mix in the form of Zeman, and also just a bunch of other people who want different stuff. One of my personal assignments for this week for myself is to go back to, especially the NPCs that have a lot of people pointed at them, and make a note to myself. I have a pretty good idea for many of them, but I haven't written it down, what they all want, and make sure that I know what they want, because they're going to be going after stuff too, and that should help everyone. Again, if I squeeze somebody, it's like a sponge. I want XP to drip out of any person I squeeze. So that
and just to I want to throw compliments to the anonymous person who, during the course of the game, was adding in pictures to the NPCs that didn't have them.
Oh, that was me. I was
Okay.
adding. They were ones I had done. So.
Yep. I think that is awesome.
You found the midwife. You brilliant.
I was looking through for pictures of older people.
Oh, thank you. You got Fang. You got somebody for the. All right. I'm gonna get Fang Zhao in charge of one of the villages that have neither named or put somebody in charge of.
Hey, Dois.
Yes, sir.
Really quick, just not to interrupt too much.
I
lost power, so.
Oh.
Say that.
Yeah.
You broke up. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said we lost power at my house, so. I'm going to drop off now. I'm on my cell phone.
Okay. I didn't even see. Well, I don't have. Discord is somewhere underneath everything else here right now. I need another screen for this game.
Well, I'm also quick to react on these things. It was like a minute ago.
The town beggar. Yeah. Well done, James. Outstanding. Good stuff. I am excited about this, guys. I think it's coming together nicely, and I certainly see the promise of a lot of drama and craziness. So, I am tentatively. Go ahead.
No, finish what you're gonna say.
I am tentatively referring to this game as. I'm gonna hang on. I'll see where this goes. We'll see if it ends up being this sad, but I had tentatively titled this game "Love with Nowhere to Go." From sort of a famous quote that grief is just love with nowhere to go. So we'll see how well that plays out, but I'm really excited kind of about how it's all kind of setting up and the direction it's going and the potential drama. Although I think I probably have to give the tip of the hat moment to Gunlan losing it in front of his dad with Peng. That's
in front of everyone.
In front of everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah. That was that's a moment right there. That's gonna have some repercussions, I think. So good stuff there. Anyway, all right.
Wait.
Yes, sir.
I would say one thing real quick.
Yes.
Is that I wouldn't say necessarily that. Oh, I had a great way to phrase this. I think it's possible for the sect to have power without being attached to a
the
town,
village? Oh, that'd be
village,
fun too.
But whichever way works for you. That's why I kept it kind of vague in that she's just a powerful figure.
I think that may be fun. I'll look back. I want to look at your history thing again. I think that could be good because right now all we have right now is sort of in terms of the non-towns, because all the town people basically report to ultimately report back up to Aoshi. So how really troublesome could they be? He is definitely their superior. If you have the sect who's like also a powerful, let's say influential faction within the province.
Yeah, I think it could make some, as you're kind of saying, fun power.
Yeah. So it's interesting because it's somebody important enough to feel that they need to send an emissary to send word to Aoshi regretfully that they were not able to come, point one. But nobody who's official makes them even more interesting because they're not part of the power. They're not part of the power structure. They're not one of the lords of the village and stuff like that, but they're still important enough to know that they should probably send their apology. And that wouldn't raise an eyebrow from anybody. And all of that is very interesting to me and adds a level of depth and complexity to the setup, which I appreciate. So I think I'm kind of with you on this. I think I don't necessarily need to attach them to a village. I think that's a good idea. Cool stuff. I like it. Please continue to kick in on the world building and stuff because this is I'm going to shut off the